Okay, let's talk about this chapter. After all the events of the last couple chapters, we knew that Black Clover was getting into a seemingly change of story because it was set up that no matter what was going to happen, there was going to have to be a shift in the layout of everything. Because we knew that Asta was either going to be put on blame for everything during the war between the humans and the elves, or it was going to be, the people that were controlled by the elves, because now they're saying, like, there's no proof of whatever, the claims that they were going on, that they were being manipulated, controlled, as well as the word devil's existence in general. And as it was when Asta was, pleading for his innocence and trying to go over about the thing, they're like, all right, then I guess, all the people involved are going to be taken into account. Went up to try and execute Mary, and Asta wasn't having that. Went to his black form, black hurricaned over, dispelled their magic, and, pretty much just said he doesn't really approve of the way that their laws are set up, because this isn't clearly a fair law at any point. It's being completely laid out to find someone to blame. It's not looking for the truth. It's looking for someone kind of just to ease the tensions, to, be that scapegoat, as they were saying, and trying to put Asta up for. And everything in there, when Asta, just kind of broke against their laws, it was obvious that the story was going to have to go into a different direction, because it couldn't have been just him, going against them, and then it's like, well, okay, whatever, maybe we can be a gap between him and his kind of position and a lot of other main characters in shonen. You can kind of look at him sort of in a similar position as someone like Deku or Naruto, because they're not like freelanced. They're kind of tied directly to the layout of the land that they're in. And when I mean that, like, Naruto is a ninja, he has a duty as a member of the Elite Village. Deku being, he's not fully licensed, but he's got this provisional license, so he still kind of like works for the whole, like, I think I don't remember entirely, they're tied to the government of Japan, but whatever it's called, I don't remember off the top of my head. But Black Clover, obviously the Magic Knights they're pretty much the military for the Clover Kingdom. And you're not going to get something like, oh, he's going to completely just straight rebel and they're going to kind of brush it under like nothing. It's going to have repercussions. And this chapter starts out like, from the other characters' perspective. We have, we got some characters coming in. They're kind of like freaking out over a paper, and we actually see Sister Lily, surprisingly enough, and they see in the paper like this kind of like caricature of Asta, and it's not like a negative caricature. It actually like makes him look cooler. He actually kind of looks like a shoujo character a little bit, but he's in his like black form, making him look like some like suave villain. But in reality, Asta is Asta, and that drawing just doesn't seem in place. You can tell it's definitely made by somebody that probably was described him, but that was just a little bit of an amusing thing just to start the chapter. And as they're all kind of like freaking out at what's going on, we get Goldry and Repchi, and they're just kind of like laughing at Asta and his misfortune. You see Sally, and she's excited to see where this goes. Raditz and Veltros, so Veltros like being involved in like trying to fix the kingdom. I get he when they kind of got resurrected, he was just trying to find out the truth of what happened. He's been kind of lost and without a purpose. Raditz just is as a side point in this chapter. If he just comes back to the Clover Kingdom and he just forgives them all, I'm going to be legitimately pretty upset. It looks like they're all kind of like handcuffed from what I can tell, including him. I was kind of like not going too heavy into like the long range like details of this chapter, so I actually didn't even notice until the second read through it. But you see just enough handcuffs on them, and I'm hoping that there's a whole point where he eventually breaks out, because with his character, I don't think he would ever forgive the Clover Kingdom with such a low level of kind of like a resolution, because he has, I think, one of the most justifiable reasons for a character to turn into a villain, in such a short event. Like, he just got screwed over. But as they're kind of all like freaking out over what's going on with Asta, you actually get a comment from Mimosa, just kind of like giving some backstory to Damnatio, and Damnatio actually is so heavy into like justice and dealing out what he sees as justice that he actually like judged down upon his own father and weighed whatever his crimes were. He's definitely somebody who values his ideals over anything else, and that wasn't gonna fly with what's going on, because at this point, Asta is, standing up against all these people, and he's trying to reason with them. He's trying to explain what happened. He's even saying, like, this form may not, not look too good to you guys, but really I can control it. And it's been useful, like, especially you've seen lots of scenes throughout the series, and it's not as much like I guess just to kind of like peer up. It's not something as much like Goku, where a lot of what he does, the mass public doesn't know, and we can look at it as maybe not like everybody in the Clover Kingdom knows, but definitely like anybody involved in the Magic Knights or the Royal Magic Knight exam. And as well as you think anybody kind of relating to anybody that was present, especially as you had like Augustus Kira Clover there, you had Julius, you had multiple members of royal families. I feel like I kind of got to them, about how Asta, having this power and him, doing what he did and helping helping stop Langris. That it would kind of like give them a little bit of sense of ease. Plus, he's not giving off any kind of like malefic feel to him in any of these panels. None of these make him look like a villain. But I kind of can get where they'd be panicking after all these things, finding out about some stuff that was going on. They're probably informed about the curse when you pass into forbidden magic to the other world. Was it Weg? I think it was pronounced in the official translation, spelled out. But Damnatio actually makes a really good point, because this was the thing that I was wondering. So you put Asta against a lot of characters 1v1, and he's going to be able to defeat them depending on their magic. If they have like something like someone like Yami, who Yami is very mobile, very much like a ranged kind of like close combat mixed fighter, he would present trouble for Asta. But someone like Damnatio, who as far as we can tell, he's just kind of like a hacks manipulator type of mage, it would work on Asta. He would have no effect, because he can't use his magic to like mess with his magical spikes. Also, as an anti-magic, he's anti-magic. So, like, between them, suddenly, if it would happen, there would have to be a lot of extra perks to Damnatio's magic. But as it is, we've seen right now, Asta obviously would beat him. His power just straight counters, raw hacks casters in Black Clover. Is they're not fast enough and not have certain abilities, then they're gonna get anti-magic down. And Damnatio brings up a good point. He's talking about how, like, even if you attack and defeat me here, you're a man on the run. You can't just go against the kingdom and the laws without having some form of heavy drawback to it. Because, like I said, this isn't something like you have a series like obviously easy for my channel to something like Fairy Tail, where they can rebel against the Magic Council and their government, and depending on events, they could still kind of hold through, because overall they were a guild together. Whereas though there is like a link to eventually the government, kind of like the whole system's in place, but it's not like the Magic Knights. So the Magic Knights are directly, like I said, they're pretty much their military. So them going against them is a much more severe, as well as their residents of this kingdom going against them is going to pretty much make every single other Magic Knight squad, have to come after them. They're going to have to turn them into a problem. And Asta can't just be a man on the run. And he even brings up, like, even if you tried, every single person that's close to you, it's going to, even if they side with you, they're going to be kind of like, just lumped in with you. And, against you, you're going to have to deal with that. So no matter what, you're drawing misfortune and bad aspects around. And he's just trying to like describe to Asta that he's pretty much an evil presence. And he's just a bad, entity. But right then, you just see big crash in through the wall, and you get a nice line from each member of the Black Bulls. They're all just kind of like giving their own moments about Asta, giving their own 2 cents on the matter. And of course, Noelle, as notes, the lead female had to be the last one in there, and even her last words extra Noelle of just having that little tsundere moment. And then the Black Bulls just arrived. They are ready to take Asta back. They're not letting this happen. They're not going to let them, treat one of their members like that. And that's the thing I really like about the Black Bulls versus the other Magic Knight squads. I like multiple of the Magic Knight squads. I like other captains. I like other members. But the Black Bulls, because of the way that they are, they're a much smaller group. They're much closer, seemingly. Like, I imagine from just looking at the other Magic Knight squads that we've seen, you'd probably, you'd have a lot of people in there, because a lot of them seem to have more numbers, at least in the idea of them, and spread out. And it's not not like the Blue Roses, we pretty much just have Charlotte and Soul. But when you look at them, at least from what we've seen, like when we saw like the Golden Dawn space, they pretty much have like a small castle, whereas the Black Bulls pretty much just have a big building that moves around. It's like a bunch of small, those like back on the house kind of buildings. What are those? Those manufactured ones that you can put on trucks. It's just a bunch of those kind of stacked together, and they're much more kind of like compact crew, much closer, much more family-like because of it. They're a very tight-knit group. And because of that, they value, their own crew above all else. We especially see that, like, for instance, back when Langers tried to execute Finral, and the Black Bulls just completely, like, threw aside the rules of the tournament. They threw aside any form of what they were there to achieve, and they were just straight up trying to guard their own. And this panel really, in a lot of ways, like, reminds me of when the Fairy Tail busted into Phantom Lord to start beef when people were messing with their crew. And just like the way it looks and the fact that they are above all, even though they are, in a way, like, when you look at guilds and Fairy Tail, they're kind of like, for the most part, they're seen as kind of like a business. You work pretty much with, like, this guild, and it's pretty much an agency of you're getting jobs through them, you're doing something. You get a job because the job gets assigned to them. You're able to pick. You end up giving them a portion. It's like I said, it's like kind of having like a manager or like some business kind of like sorting group. I don't really know how I would describe it. I'm sure there is some actual name for it, but the Fairy Tail Guild is very much more like a family because of the their ideals and the way that Mavis kind of like passed down, and the way that she saw it, and as well as how Makarov kind of laid it out. And with the Black Bulls, because of the fact that Yami picked them out specifically because of things he liked about them, and then, them just kind of like bonding over adventures and having much more of like a free, fun time than seemingly like the other Magic Knight squads that operate much more like an actual military group, where they're much more kind of like, they're much more kind of disciplined and refined, and because of that, they don't have that kind of camaraderie that the Black Bulls have. In this scenario, one of them, and now actually counting two because they're counting Sekri, which pretty much confirms she's going to be a Black Bull. I know people have been asking about this for a while. What's going to happen to her? Is she going to stay as a bird? Is she going to leave and go do her own thing, or is she going to become a Black Bull? That question has been sitting around for a while, but from this, it looks like they're going to straight bring her in. They probably got a cloak on the ready just to give to her. And I don't know if you can buy cats. But they're even bringing up how they don't care. When it comes down to it, if the government and, the Clover Kingdom are threatening members of the Black Bulls, then the members of the Black Bulls are going to threaten the government and the law. They're 100% ready to go against them in order to protect their own, which is fantastic. Obviously, in a real world kind of scenario, I mean, I imagine, people aren't just gonna be like, well, I guess we're just gonna like raid this courthouse and just declare war against the government. But looking at the setup of the scenario, us knowing the context of what's going on, us knowing what's happening in the series, and how unfair this is, and how this is all unjust, that the Black Bulls just charge again and ready to protect them from, literally injustice and the dangers of Damnatio pretty much trying to construe what he thinks is the way that things are going to go. So this chapter was absolutely exciting. Like it felt so much shorter. I think it was 14 pages, 15 pages, but at the same time, just those last couple were so hype, because now, like I said, things are going to have to go different. There's obviously ways to resolve it. I've laid out the possibility that William will come, maybe like sacrifice himself, just kind of like take all blame upon what happened on him, say it was all because of him, blah, blah, blah. But I'm much more interested in the idea of the Black Bulls pretty much just going rogue against the kingdom, and maybe end up going to another kingdom, because it would be a really good way to set up, going into another arc of that arc taking place outside the Clover Kingdom, whether it being, like I've said a couple times, going to the Diamond Kingdom where we already have plot and characters set up, or the Heart Kingdom, which we know is neutral. And there could even, you could even get a wild card. Yami could be like, there's only one place I feel like we should go, and then go to the land of the sun where he's from, and we can finally see what that is like. But other than that, like, just an absolute hype chapter. I'm really excited to see how this goes, to see how exactly they go about it. It's like just the Black Bulls pretty much just going out and doing their own thing. Maybe they'll establish their own kingdom, because Asta really wants to create that kind of kingdom without like discrimination, whether it's, you're a human or an elf, or you're a weak peasant with barely any magic, or some strong royal-blooded noble who's got like godly magic. He just wants to make a kingdom where people can all kind of all get along and treat each other well. And I'm wondering if one of the things that's going to happen is maybe he'll, instead of just kind of like help with the Clover Kingdom, he will instead create his own, which would be really interesting to see, because there's obviously all that unclaimed territory in between kingdoms that could happen if they decided to build their own country. I don't know. So we'll see how that goes. There's one question that I did see some people mentioning. I thought so too. Is where is Yuno? Because out of the whole situation, the characters that I thought for sure would be the ones that would go with Asta, regardless of what happens and where the story goes, would be Noelle, because lead female, and the rival. I would actually be really interested to see, like, if ends up, like, pretty much, maybe he wants to, maybe wants to kind of, like, take on the system from the inside, so he kind of, like, goes against Asta as, like, a front to kind of just put on this visage of being on their side with Damnatio, and then just kind of like rising up in the ranks, and then maybe eventually he will have much more power than Damnatio. Maybe he'll override him and feed him in his. I don't know. That's obviously a very largely kind of laid out, like, what if over a long period of time. But other than that, tell me in the comment section below what you thought about this chapter. I absolutely loved it. Like I said, it just reminded me so much of Fairy Tail busting into Phantom, being like, all right, let's throw down. We're not having this shit. You guys pissed us off. And that's pretty much what the Black Bulls are like. They're like, we're taking Asta, and if you guys try and resist, then we got a goddamn problem. So, yeah, comment below. I really appreciate thumbs up the video. Prefer the like button and the subscribe button, and check out my other videos. From that, I appreciate everybody who's already subscribed. And I thank you all for listening. Bye.